So in this slide, we're looking at a puzzle, pieces coming together. And the way we respond to each other as we come together and we are mixed up together. We can respond with a deep sense of aversion, which is antipathy, a hatred of each other by a basis of race. We can respond with apathy, lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern, whatever. This person going through this, whatever. That's apathy. We can respond with some level of sympathy, feelings of pity and sorrow for somebody else's misfortune. That's bit there, it's better. Or we can respond with empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So because we come together, but we come from different backgrounds, we have had different experiences in life which have marked us, which have an impact on who we are. Now, I want to do an exercise shortly. So I want you to, waiting for you to finish with your photo-taking exercise. So I want us to do an exercise quickly. An exercise would require for us to close our eyes. Close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to think of an incident or an event or something that has happened in your life in the past that has been negative or painful, or some bad experience, some negative occurrence, or could have happened last year, today, or 20 years ago. But it is part of your life, and I want you to transport yourself in that incident, in that situation, and think and see the people or the situation. All right. Fine. If you have done this properly, you can open your eyes. So if you had done it properly, you would likely to tell me, if I ask you how you feel, you're likely to tell me that you feel bad. Correct? You feel bad. How is it that you feel bad over something that happened 10 or 20 years ago? It's because what I've just done was to transport you back to that situation. What happens is this: thoughts are connected to emotions. So whenever a thought is provoked or surfaced, the emotion connected to the thought is also surfaced. So every thought in your brain is connected to an experience and an emotion. So when the thought comes up, the emotion connected to it also comes up. Have you found yourself sometimes smiling by yourself because you're remembering something, and immediately you just find, hey, what? And you think to yourself, people are going to think I'm crazy. You just thought of something wonderful, and next thing, your smile just broke out. It's because as a human being, you're like a computer. Everything that has ever happened to you is stored in the system. It's just that it's a filing system. So what I've done now, I've asked you to pull from that file below and bring it up. And everything that is in that file also comes up. Now the problem is this: if you have not dealt with what is on that file, whenever something provokes what's in there, you're going to be transported back there. That means you are likely not to move on. You'll be stuck there. Anything that provokes that thing will take you back there once again. So it's important for you to understand that you are not a bunch of unconnected experiences. You are a human being, and everything you have ever faced in life is interconnected. Thoughts actually occupy space in the brain. They take space, they take residence in the brain. So the brain is made up of neurons and cells and all of that activity, of billions of cells that are firing and moving around in the brain. Every one of them elicits, they say an average person thinks over 12,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative, and they're repetitious. In other words, you are likely thinking today what you thought yesterday and the day before and the last week. We are continually thinking the same way every day. And then 70% of diseases have a psychosomatic link. They are linked to how we think. So you can actually think yourself to sickness. You can actually make yourself sick by thinking. That's unfortunately what's happening with our lives. We have the power to make ourselves sick. That's why you notice that when somebody's in hospital and they're unwell, we don't normally go and break down bad news to them. We wait for them to come out. Because their immune system is too weak to handle the news can actually take them off. Just a thought. If somebody walks into this building, a policeman with a gun on his holster, we will never pay attention. But if a person is carrying a gun in his hand, we will pay attention. Now, if a person walks with a knife, a woman was doing something, or some person or man was, it wouldn't. But if a person is carrying a knife like that, that's a different way of carrying a knife. And the fear which you have by sight and a thought can actually provoke physical sensation. To a degree, you can actually wet yourself on the chair by a thought. Your whole system can actually loose. And you find yourself, you've wet your chair by a thought. If the person hasn't touched you, they just appear to be threatening, you react, your whole system just gives in. Just by a thought. That's how powerful thoughts are. So, therefore, what happens is that because we are a bunch of unprocessed human beings with different levels of traumas, which are locked into our body mass, are locked into our system, which some of them have now been part of us. They say by the age of 35, whatever you've gone through life has now concretized to form a personality. And now we talk about this is who I am, but often this is who you have become. This isn't necessarily who you were meant to be, but this is who you have become. Often out of defensiveness because of what you've been going through. So you've learned how to defend yourself to a point where your defense mechanisms have created a whole personality. So, and these things, church doesn't often address them because it's not equipped to address. So we either spiritualize, we pray for you, but we don't deal with the soul. You know, the soul is a bridge between the body and the spirit. So to do God's work physically now has to do with a renewal of the mind. So the mind is the bridge. So my obedience, convicted in the spirit, but the working out of obedience has to go through the channel called the soul and the mind. So if that channel is messed up, my obedience is going to be messed up at the end. I might do what I do, but for the wrong reasons. Because I'm messed up in my thinking, in my processing, in my brain. Meaning, I might do something, but because I have a low self-esteem or I think of myself as worthless, I'm doing it to augment or to try and show off or to try and prove a point because I have an issue of existential crisis. So I'm doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. So I'm doing it, but for the wrong reasons. Because I'm dealing with stuff, I don't even know what I'm dealing with, actually. As a matter of fact, many people don't know what they don't know. Remember, I think it's some American General Defense Secretary, Rumsfeld, I think, Donald Rumsfeld, talks about the known knowns and the unknown unknowns. We talk about the weapons of mass destruction. So there are known knowns and there are unknown unknowns. So there are things we know we don't know. There are things we don't know that we don't know. The known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. That's what Rumsfeld said when he was justifying the Iraqi war. So, therefore, you're sitting here and you often don't know why you behave the way you do. You don't know why you do what you do. What's causing you to act the way you are acting? You're acting out because you don't know what's going on. So unless you open the lid a bit and check what's going on in there, you'll always be a victim of yourself. Your worst enemy is actually sitting with you. It's called you. It's not the devil. The devil only uses your weaknesses against you. You are yourselves worst enemy. How you think is the key part. So now, which means that when we come to church and we go to the worship, and we go to this, we go to that, we find that the people who come, everybody is a story. And they bring a story. Now we're seeing stories clashing on the different experiences because we have not understood each other's story. In fact, the story owner does not know their story also. They know what happened, they don't know what it did to them. So you know that you were dumped as a child, or you don't know you're dumped, you just know that you were a cripple. So somebody has to tell you there was war and Ness dumped you. That's why you broke your legs. Mephibosheth. So you are the sum total of an experience that happened as a child, which has marked you for the rest of your life. Right. So you come to the king's table already defining yourself as a dead dog. Because you can't understand the privilege and the honor you are having because of, I'm a cripple. What does the king want to do with this dead dog? In Israel, a dog was the worst of animals. Now, to compare yourself not to a dog, but a dead one was even worse. What Mephibosheth did. Because that's how he saw himself. Grasshopper in his own eyes. So, therefore, now, because church sometimes is busy and we're busy, we're trying to get you to do something quickly. We're trying to get you to do something, but we're trying to get you to do something, but we have not spent time to discover who you are first. And so you respond because there's a need for you to come and join the team, but you don't know who you are, and we don't know who you are. And the next thing you manifest, and we're like, what happened? You don't know why you banged the door, why you did what you did. Nobody knows. You don't know. You just feel sorry the next day because you're embarrassed now. But why did you do what you did? You don't know why you did what you did. That you are struggling. So somebody said something which provoked something that was latent. They didn't mean what you heard, but what you heard provoked what is already in you. Now you are reacting not over what they said, but what it made you feel. And what it made you feel was that it provoked what you already experienced. So you are reacting out of that. You understand? So now we need to have an exercise in church where we check in first. Where we check in. So you come and check in. My pastor used to do this when we gather as pastors for a meeting of pastors, as church leaders of different churches. We have a meeting as a network. And our pastor would say this to us. How are you really? Because he knows pastors don't know how to say how they are. They talk about, so how are you? They talk about the ministry. How are you really? Now the pastor, the church, people are giving him problems. The offering is low. The people are not coming to home cell meetings. No, how are you really? I made a mistake one day, one of those meetings, by talking about how I really was. The whole thing became awkward. So my wife and I are having problems. We're not talking to each other. The next thing I found that I messed up the meeting. I thought that was what? I thought, okay, wrong place. I thought that's what was required, is to talk about, and I thought this is what's supposed to happen. And I realized I'm a fool here. We're supposed to say, I'm doing fine. We're supposed to say, I'm doing well, and we continue to move on and pretend. And why are you being real? When we ask each other here, how are you? We don't really mean, how are you? Let's be honest. Let's be frank about this. When we meet each other in the morning, how are you? You don't really want to know how that person is. If they really told you how they are, you're like, I don't really mean it. So wait. No. Whoa. Pause. Shh. Whoa. I didn't really. Whoa. I says, do you have time to really know how I am? No, that's not really. Not in that way. But I mean, then don't ask. How about not asking? The problem with culture, especially with African culture, is that it's full of euphemisms. It's full of things that are not really what they meant to mean.
Now, if you go with a person like me, where you're tired of pretense, you're exhausted of living a life of expectations, of social constructs, because it's so burdensome. You're like, if you're not going to know, if you don't really want to know how I am, please don't stop asking me how I am. I don't have time for this nonsense. If you don't have any interest in how I'm doing, then don't ask me how I'm doing. I'm tired of answering the question, I'm fine, when I know I'm not fine. Because if I say I'm not fine, you are running away from me. You're like, I didn't really mean it like that. I'm sorry, like, Pastor, you're the pastor, you're supposed to be fine. Says who? Says who? Who says I'm a pastor, so I cannot be not fine? Says who? What makes you think I'm a machine, I'm not a human being? Right? So as a pastor, not talking to your wife for days, huh? Is that real? Yes. But I was preaching everywhere. I was on TV. I was a public success, but a private failure. Nobody knew that. But I knew it. And I decided, enough of this nonsense of double life. I said to my wife, I can't live like this. We went for counseling to another pastor. Dave, help us. Right? And we sorted out the stuff. And Dave and Karen would sit, and the next day I'm like, huh? Now I get it. Now I'm a person who likes to get things. You know, I'm like, a penny drop. I'm like, oh, I see. I wasn't talking at home like I'm talking now. You don't believe it. I'm actually an introvert by nature. Yeah, you'd be surprised. I'm an introvert. Yeah, I'm actually an introvert. Don't try and talk me out in a down session. I'll be like listening and say, okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm an introvert by nature. So I don't talk a lot. And my wife didn't understand. So she complained, how are you? Fine. How was the meeting? Fine. It was good. So I said, I didn't understand this thing of women in detail. I give you the stuff that I think you gotta be listening to. Fine. We went to welcome. I flew in. They fetched me at the airport. Everything went well. Right? Not we stopped in the garage, we bought pies, we did this, and not all the details. And next time my wife felt deprived of conversation. She had more words in the day than I had. So her day was always left with some excess words. So every time she went to sleep, she had excess words that were not used up. So she wasn't complaining that I wasn't giving him. I mean, my defense was this one. What? I come home. I don't float around. I come home. I'm a home person. I pay bills. I give people grocery money. I'm here. I'm accountable. I'm an open book. What's the problem? There are guys out there in taverns or Chisanyama in price the whole day. My money is spent here. No secret life. What? No. The problem is that you were here physically, but you were not here emotionally. We're not feeling you. That's what I was complaining about. And I didn't know how to be anything else because I was not raised in a house where anybody was interested in how I felt. So I grew up in a culture where children were seen and not heard. So where my opinions were never asked. Where we are moving house is an announcement. Not, what do you think? Let's discuss. No, we are moving next week. Oh. That's how I grew up. There was nothing about. So assertiveness was out. So I didn't know anything about expressing myself because I was not allowed to express myself. So here I'm married to a person who wants me to express myself. And one day my daughter is asking me for something, or she wants, Daddy, look. And I was in my computer, so I glance. And my wife says, don't glance, look. I thought I did. She says, no, you are not, you must look. She says to me something that will forever change me. Forever change. She said to me, you don't understand. I can look, but when you look, there's something about when you look at her that is different than if I look at her. You must look, not glance. Wow. Wow. Nobody ever looked at me as a child. How am I supposed to know that? All of this mushy, emotional stuff, how am I supposed to know this stuff? Nobody ever helped me with this stuff. I was like, Afrika, sit there, do this. Hey, you, do this. I was always like, what have I done? So I'm like, I'm ready to. Nobody ever talked to me nicely. Nobody ever gave me a hug until I got to church. First time I got a hug was in a church. I never got a hug at home. So I don't know this stuff. Okay? So now I got kids who are hugging every time. And one day they walk, Daddy, did you tell your parents you love them as often as we do? I look at them and thought, I don't know where you guys come from, what planet you come from. If I had told my parents I love you, they'll say, are you okay? Like, are you fine? Like, there's something wrong with you. Like, you love me. Because that was meant to be known but never said. Read between the lines kind of thing. So all of that, so when I get home and I got these kids who are hugging, and my daughter is like worse. She's 11, right? We are still kissing every night in the mouth. Good night. Never go to sleep without that kiss and hugging. It has changed me completely. I felt things in my heart, feelings I never thought I could feel. I felt in ways I never thought I could feel. If you don't get this as a parent, it's gone for you. If you don't, like my wife says, marriage is the last place to grow up. He says, it's like God giving you a last chance. If you don't get it there, your story is finished. It's like, there's no hope for you. It's like the last place, the last opportunity for you to grow up. If you don't get it there, it's like, yeah, no, we tried. If you're still married and still selfish, still spending your money on yourself, no. If it's still about you, your nice jeans, your nice shoes, your nice phone, no, there's no hope for you. We can't talk to you about church offering. It's another dimension. You're at home, you don't understand that your whole income is given to you by God to take care of the people whom God has entrusted to you, and you're still spending 80% of it outside there. Wow. You're really messed up. Right? So it's the last place to grow up, to understand life, to understand the whole of life in a big way. Responsibility, stewardship, sharing, all of that. Kids come, sharing is getting. I can never bring anything to that house when people don't ask me to share. If I really want to eat something alone, I must make sure it's finished before I walk into that house. Because if I walk with it there, forget it. It's a small chocolate. Maybe he gives me, it's a small chocolate like that. I come as I travel, so I get these packs. I get there, and what's in there? Okay, so one of the things, of course, I teach my kids early on is never to welcome me because of what I have. Because then I become an ATM dad. A truly rich man is he whose children run to him when his hands are empty. A truly rich man is he whose kids run to him when his hands are empty. They run for who he is, not for what he has. So I couldn't have children who walk and welcome me at the door because I've got things. Then I'll put the things down and say, you're not getting them. You should be excited to see me, not to see what I have. Because everything I have is because of who I am. Right? So that's important. But they will always be asking. So I'll have a can. A can. We don't drink a lot of fizzy drinks at home, for health reasons. But if we do, which is a treat. So if I am flying somewhere like I did, and I don't drink my can in the plane, I didn't drink my grape tars, so I carry with it at home, because I didn't drink it, I drank water, so I thought I'm not going to drink this. So I carry with it, because, I paid for the ticket, I possess my grape tars, I'm not living on that plane. I put it in my bag. Mine. So I come with it. There's no other grape tires at home except mine. How am I going to just go and drink that thing all by myself? It's not going to work, right? That can of grape tires has to be sipped 4 directions. There's no way you can just sit there alone and drink a whole can of grape tires with other people watching. By the time you go, that can, people look. And they look at their juices, and they look at it and they undermine. Look, this mixer juice and that can. They're thinking to yourself, Daddy, no, it's unfair. And I'm like, and I get it. The grape tizer and that mixed juice, different levels. I have to say, you can never sip, you can never sip, you can never sip. And then, right. That's what makes it a family. But I was not always like that. I had to learn to overcome. I had to learn to heal. I had to learn to be whole. I had to learn to deal with my upbringing issues of depravity, lack, and being shouted at. I know nothing else but being shouted at as a person. Instructions, commands, no explanation. Do this. Why? Because I said so. Now I got kids who go like, why? I'm like, whoa. So one day I stared at my child and she stares back. I'm like, it doesn't even work. I mean, I can't even intimidate. This thing's a game. It's a staring contest. It's not a staring contest. I'm trying to be angry, but you're not helping me. I'm like, stares back. I'm like, oh my word. Now, I don't know if you understand this, how hard it is for you to punish a person like that. You're like, you don't even know how to start. I'm like, oh no. What am I supposed to do? It's so cute. You know what I mean? So God helps us. And of course, because of that, we then get to learn other mechanisms of disciplining a child other than just linear ways where we depend on a rod or something. We learn, okay, there's other ways of correcting behavior. It's not just one way. It's not shouting. It's not threatening a child. That cars will hit you if you go on the street. Don't use fear to correct a child. Don't use fear to correct behavior. Use healthy mechanisms. Don't say there's going to be a ghost in your room if you don't go to sleep, because you're sowing seeds of issues. Or I'll call the police, because you're projecting police in the wrong way to a child. So just be a parent. Face your issues. Don't use other external forces to correct your behavior, right? So I'm using that to say, when we come together as these pieces, let's have empathy, guys. Understand the person. Understand, people have gone through stuff. I was part of a coaching team recently, a Zoom meeting, so we're having coaching partners, so we're coaching each other as coaches, so we coach each other as an exercise. And one of the guys I'm coaching, which I know, and it's like interesting, a powerful guy, he just says, my first wife. I'm like, first wife? So this is not you? Oh, okay. And now guess what happened? My mind immediately ran to, oh, so he's a divorcee. Okay, then he's married again. Okay. So I'm looking at him now a little bit differently than I did before. Only when he shares the story that his wife died in her 30s, fell just in a church building, just dropped dead. Busy serving as an elder, busy with doing the children's ministry, building, and they raise the money, and he's extending the church, he's involved physically, getting things done because the children's area, and his wife just drops dead. So I'm like, oh, okay, by first wife, it doesn't mean what I thought he meant. Yeah, I mean, I already in my mind concluded. So I'm like, so this man had to overcome that, and now he is where he is right now? Wow. So now, my level of respect for him goes up. I'm like, wow. So you lose a wife early on, before you're even 40, with a child. And you bring this child into a new relationship, and this child functions well with this other new wife. And you grow to become what you are, and you continue with what you are. From that experience, my level of respect just goes up. Right? Because part of it is what I find to be so admirable with people who do this, who marry again, by the way, is that in my culture, there's a lot of shame in marrying again. Is that people remain single forever, although they could marry again. And it's unnecessary. Yeah, it's unnecessary. Unless the Lord calls you to celibacy or to be single, it's fine, but not out of shame. Not out, people will think that I didn't love my husband, that's why I'm marrying again. Forget people. Find your mission in life, and if your mission requires that you have a helpmate, be open to the possibility. It doesn't mean you didn't love your previous husband. So I find that for some cultural difference, I find why people You guys don't play games about this thing. You marry, man. Yeah. An 80-year-old, 75-year-old, he's still getting married. He found some person in a retirement village. And I'm thinking, white people. Yeah. You don't want, no, he doesn't want to age alone. He still finds some gogo somewhere. And they say, what's this thing? And I'm like, and I said to myself, wow, I sometimes think that's amazing. Why? For the who? Be lonely for the why? For the who? Be miserable for the who? For why? To prove a point to who? That I love the dead. I did love the dead, and Naomi did. But I tell my wife right now, I'm not wishing bad on myself. I tell my wife, no, look, please don't do funny things here. God forbid something happens, you move on. I tell her, don't love me forever. That until death do us apart. That's the principle. You're not obligated to be my wife forever. You move on. You take my money, I live for you, you live. I'll leave you a lot of money, you live. You move on, you be happy. Don't sit there for years because you must appear to be, it's false appearance of commitment. Marriage ends, ideally, at the point of death, not at the point of divorce. Which means it allows for possibilities. Not necessarily have to, but it opens up. There's no scriptural injunction that prevents that. It's more cultural. Right? So I said to move on. So now I'm saying this to mention this, all that we have different experiences here. We've got people who lost spouses, people who are rejected, women who were scorned and left, divorced, husband who cheated. People have faced things. COVID took a lot of people out, we know. We have many people of us, hardly any of us are not affected by either a close person. Somehow I've lost pastor couples, ministry couples, both husband and wife, left orphaned children. I'm sure you know stories like that. So we deal with that situation. I'm an orphan, by the way. I lost both my parents at a young age. My mother, who was the last remaining parent, died in 1989. Okay? The last remaining parent died 89, over 30 years ago. So I've been without a parent for at least over 35 years. And I've never seen my dad. I've never seen him. So there are experiences of that nature which we deal with. So in our church, so now if we have a Mother's Day service, I don't know how to relate with that. I have to allow people to have their stuff, which I don't. I have no idea what it means. When in my school, these model schools, they've got Grandparents' Day. I have to pay somebody from my church and give them transport money to go and be the grandma for the day. It's so sad, but that's the reality of my life. I have to ask somebody, can you please go and be a stand-in grandma to my children's school? Because there's no grandma to send. So we can't leave our children with somebody because there's no family to leave our children with. So we're always stuck when we have to move and do the trip. What do we do with our kids? And da-da-da-da. So our life is a bit complicated. My wife and I. With no families to visit. So when somebody tells me, I mean, you guys, white guys, you tell me that my mother, you guys 60. I mean, that thing, to me, it's amazing. I mean, I met a 60-year-old person who tells me, my dad. I'm like, what? He's got a dad. He's 60, he's got a dad. That thing, to me, is like another world. I'm like, I don't even know how to relate with it. I'm like, I can't understand what you're talking about. I mean, I don't relate with that. How can you have a dad at that age? It's a blessing, of course. I'm not criticizing. I'm like, wow. That's why I plan to hang around for a while for my kids. You know what I'm saying? I need to hang around for a while. I have no plans of leaving. Because this thing that was broken has to be corrected. Somebody has to make up this stuff. So I'm 4 years now to be 50. So I'm not young. I just look young. I'm 46. Because I deliberately want to hang around. So I need to take care of myself. It's not this thing of people dying. This spirit, this curse, where people don't reach 70 has been broken at some point. And I'm the generation to break it. This thing where people don't see their grandchildren, they don't take their daughters to marriage. And no, what for? Why are you 50? Why are you dying for? Why are you 50 you die? Why are you dying? Why are you dying 50? Where are you going? To rest? To rest where? What are you talking about? How can you be resting with 50? What have you done in life for you to rest? How can you be dead at 50? You shouldn't be dead at 50, unless, there's some of the unfortunate crime situations. But in real life, if you are the one who exacerbates, look, we're all going to die at some point, but we're all going to get the grave. You don't have to be the first one to get there. It's not a race. Don't live your life where you're rushing to be the first one. Like, you're trying to figure, how do I get there quickly? No, don't rush. Because people live a life where they're trying to get there faster. They're unhealthy the way they live. Be in charge of this temple. Because if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it at least for your children. And make sure your kids can play soccer with you at dad. Don't go around there and you're just breathing so heavily, just kicking one ball, you're almost falling dead because you're so unhealthy. No, work yourself out. Your kids, I run with my kids. My son, I run with him. The trail runs and the school runs, and he just beat me on a 5K for the first time, and he's talking about it forever. For the first time, I'm telling him, watch it. It's not yet concluded. It's not conclusive yet. Because I'm a runner, so I run. But to run with your child, to be in sport with your child at my age, is such a privilege. I've never seen it in all my... Listen, in one generation, I've broken 400 years of bad... 300 to 400. I've broken 300 to 400 years of bad history in one generation. One generation, my generation, I've broken 300 years of MHLOPHE, corrupted, bad generation in one lineage. I've redefined what it is to be MHLOPHE forever in one generation. In other words, being present. In other words, we don't have to get a prize for being a present dad. You don't reward a fish for swimming. We're having a prize giving ceremony for fish because they're swimming. So if you're a present father, there's no say, don't wait for the prize. You're doing what you should be doing naturally. Where else are you supposed to be? From what I think, you were there when you made the person, if your memory serves you, unless you've got amnesia. If my memory serves me correctly, I was there when we made our children. I think it was me. I suspect. So it makes sense for me to be present when my children are coming out and are being born, and be present continually onwards. So now, if I've never seen it, then you ask me, then where do you find it? How do you learn it? There is a Father in heaven who will never leave you nor forsake you. It is not that, and I must correct this thing, that because your father was absent, you'll always have a father wound. It's not true. You will have a father wound until you feel it. So it's not permanently that you live with a father wound. I don't have issues. I don't react when people are having Father's Day. I'm not jealous. I'm not envious. I've dealt with that. Right? Because it's not like it should now cripple you for the rest of your life. You now get to be introduced to another father who says, I'll never leave you nor forsake you, who teaches you how to father. And you learn from him how to be a good father. It's not impossible to change your lineage. So my kids understand these kind of things. So when we come, therefore, if we are running together and therefore, why I mentioned this thing of family is because church ideally should function as a family. But if the concept of family is bad, you won't be able to relate with church because your concept of family is not. So when we say church is a family, we have to define what we mean by family. Because we come from different families and different concepts of families. So I come from extended families where your auntie is your mother, where your cousin brother is your brother. So we have different concepts of family. So I have to try now and marry that with the concept of church being a family. And all of that. And there are siblings, and there's people who lead, and there's different responsibilities. But it's functioning as a family, not in a hierarchical manner, because when we think of father in terms of position and hierarchy, more than the source and more than the function, we think of position. Right? So when we come to church, in the family, not everyone is perfect. You got that sibling who's called a black sheep. That guy was just, We don't know what to do with him. Everybody went to school, everybody got a degree, and him, he just liked dacha. He just liked his drugs, and he didn't pass anything. So he's like, we don't know what to do with him. But it's still family. Right? So now, therefore, we have to function like that. Now, if we go to a restaurant, Emmanuel, we are not going to wash the dishes. Correct? In a restaurant. We are not going to cook the food in a restaurant. We are going to sit where we want to sit in a restaurant. Because it's a restaurant. There are people who treat church as a restaurant. They pick and choose from a menu what to eat. They choose which restaurant to go to. And they don't take responsibility for what happens afterwards. Church is not a restaurant. It's a family. You participate in the preparation of the food. You sit in a designated area of sitting. You take care of the plate after eating. You are part of the process of preparation and cleaning afterwards. That's different from restaurant. So unfortunately, because we have now done church to the degree to which we now run churches to say, how do I better my restaurant offering? Right. So churches have become a franchise. So I paint my walls, I spruce up my menu, I work on my graphics and all of that to present a better restaurant to outdo my competitor. Right. And so people come ready to buy from a menu, to eat what they like and they walk out of the door. Right. If that's you, I ask you to ask God for repentance. Because you are misusing his church. Right. It's not a restaurant, friends. It's a family. You don't sit where you like. You take responsibility for the food preparation and cleaning afterwards. That's a family. So I don't go around telling people, you know what, there's cockroaches in my home. You know, what people want to say, they'll look at me and thinking, there's something wrong with this guy. Like this guy is not, I mean, the cockroaches in his house is a reflection on him and laziness. Who is he reporting? So every time I travel around South Africa, people have this tendency of wanting to talk to me separately. You know, my church has got these problems. My pastor is not transformed. My church is not. I'm like, yeah, okay. Then that's your church. You belong there. So you aren't exposed it to a stranger. Because you think So do you understand that when you go to a church, you must be planted. It's when you come the first time around, you come with a restaurant mentality. I understand that. You eat what you like, but you can't, it's unsustainable to eat in restaurants. It's unhealthy too. So you can't eat every meal in a restaurant. A restaurant is a treat. It's a once-off. It's not your main serving area. So if you come with that mentality, I expect you to come here few months, you're exploring the church. It's fine. You sit there, do whatever you like. You're still exploring. If 2 years down the line, you're still an explorer, I'm like, you're messed up. You can't do that. Why? Because generally speaking, we don't really know how to serve a person who's not planted. So when something happens to you, we don't really know. We react out of guilt. We try and help you, but we're not genuinely. Listen, a person whom I really don't know, I help them out of this general care, compassion, but not really feeling obligation. I'm helping you out of the general, let's care for each other kind of sort. But I do know you as this one uncommitted person who's floating around. So I help you because I once saw you in church at some point. But I'm not really connected to you. No, so therefore, we have to be careful that we don't treat God's church like that. In the long term, of course. In the beginning, no one knows this is my home church or not. You don't know if the pastor is preaching the right things. You don't want to commit yourself immediately. This is my pastor. I feel God is calling me. You don't know. Maybe it's a false prophet. Wait, watch him. After a while, he will be revealed. So you're not sure. You're exploring. Is the worship good? Is the teaching good? Is the children's area good? If you also do coffee, is the coffee good? You're checking certain, you've got your scorecard. Good coffee, good worship, good word, good children, whatever scorecard you use. Fine, whatever. After that, now, if you are here, for instance, I'm here, and you've been sitting here, help me as a visitor. What else is wrong here that needs to be made right? That will help you to commit more. Help us to correct it, to help you to commit more. What else must we do to up your commitment? The singing is bad. Help us to improve it. Come and sing. Come and bring your good singing. Or you're just theorizing. You don't know any key. You have never sang anything. You just think you know. You know more when you are a theorist than when you participate in the thing. People never play soccer. They know how that guy should have kicked that ball. But get them to kick the ball. They realize, it's not as easier said than done. Yeah, exactly. So, therefore, if I was running a church here, and I kept seeing you, and 6 months or a year, now I love seeing you. I'm excited about the building being full. But at some point, I don't really like seeing you, because now you are beginning to be a question mark. Why does it just show up and disappear immediately after service and no show up in any meeting during the week? Is he a member? Is he exploring? How long does it take to... I ask questions behind your back. I'm telling you what pastors do. What we do now about you. How long does he explore? Is he here? Is he not here? Is he passing? Are we the restaurant to him, or are we a family? Are we being used? Right? I'm questioning. As a pastor, I'm questioning. So as every pastor, you want to test your message. And the only way to test it is what people do with it. That they listen to it is not enough. You want application. That's how you test if you're teaching well. Any of you, a parent, know this. You know your children are listening to you when they do the stuff you're telling them. Now you know that your teaching is working. When my son is like giving his sister something and sharing, and now listen, okay, it's working. Because it's not his nature to want to do that. When it's like, I'm like, okay, he's hearing me. So therefore, whatever brokenness, believers, whatever struggles you've had from where you come from, don't let that define you forever. Whatever you face, whatever abuse, whatever pastor stole your money, whatever traumas you have, don't assume every pastor is looking to take your money. Don't judge us, please. We are not him. We're not your abuser. Please, we are not him. Forgive us on his behalf. Please forgive. On behalf of all pastors, I ask for forgiveness. Please. Because pastors want money. No, not all of us. So don't come with your traumas and your stuff and paint and project to everyone. And also, the sermon, it is meant to provoke you. That's the nature of a sermon. But it's not personal. So you're not being targeted. It's just the Holy Spirit is working some things in your heart. So just take it in that kind of spirit. And repent. Don't be offended. Repent. Don't take offense. Offense is taken. Don't take offense. Change. Don't be offended. Change. All right? So, therefore, the sermon is sown like a seed. But the soils are not determined by the sower. So I'm sowing the same seed, but in different types of soil. So I'm not the one who determines the soil. I only determine the seed. The soils are whatever they are. I don't know if you're a hard rock. I don't know if you're among thorns. I don't know if you're wayside. I don't know where you come from. I'm just sowing the same seed. and then it lands in different types of soil. Now, here's what you should do for yourself. When you know that you are a hard rock or whatever you've gone through, if you are in a church that is healthy, talk to me as a pastor outside of a service. Pastor, can I make an appointment to see you? And then we deal with your stuff privately. And let us help each other. Like I've just owned up and I've opened up to you, I have been helped. Therefore, I don't go around projecting everywhere I travel around the world, projecting my own issues, because I've dealt with my issues with God and people around me. Therefore, I don't have to go around carrying my brokenness and projecting over people's. He's talking about me, undermines me, because now I feel undermined as it is. People sometimes say things that validate how you think about yourself. So you project your own insecurities of others. So, therefore, I would suggest that before we come and serve here, I would suggest, if I was in this church, okay, this is my suggestion. If I was in this church, I would ask that I have one-on-one session with everybody who wants to serve. That we have coffee, we have one-on-one, where I really spend time and you really commit. I talk about myself first, I start the process. So you think that it's not about interviewing you, where we really get to know each other beyond the perception and the facade we put. Tell me about your life, your upbringing. To know, who am I dealing with? Because if I have a person standing up from church, I was ministering in a school in Pietermaritzburg. I'm dealing with this thing of diversity. I'm a diversity consultant of some of the elite schools in the country. They hire diversity consultants, woke people, and pay them lots of money to tell them nonsense that gender is changeable. So one school, the Christian school, has brought me in to counteract this narrative and this agenda. So I'm dealing with this very powerful, one of the schools that you pay over 100K a year, the children who take holidays overseas, elite. So I talk about feelings, about identity, but I touch on feelings. Say feelings don't determine reality. I'm 1.82, I don't feel like it. That's an objective reality, it's immutable. So feelings don't determine reality. So how you feel about yourself does not mean anything about reality. I didn't know it was veering off on gender. I wasn't intending to. A staff member, a teacher, stood up and left the service, the chapel. So the other people saw it and then they talked to me afterwards. You saw the teacher stood up? Because I provoked, I touched on a raw nerve. Because they think life is about feelings. Imagine I felt like I'm 16. I mean, really? It means nothing. It just means I'm deranged. I'm deluded. It doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with reality. It just means a man is deluded. He needs help. He needs somebody to help this guy. He's out of. So sometimes people can't tell the difference between reality and feelings. Especially, let me tell you this, especially we live in a world that has so much promoted feelings about facts. That everywhere, my children, everywhere, people, I feel like, feelings and truth now have been equated. Everywhere, the language of feelings, my truth, my reality. Everything now is about projecting subjectivity. Listen, I appreciate your experience, where you come from, what you have experienced. I respect that. I was not there. It's a unique experience. But Jesus is an objective reality. The gospel is an objective reality. And we submit to the gospel. The gospel doesn't submit to us. So we bring our experiences, but we bring it under the blood. We submit it to the Lordship of Jesus Christ. We don't ask him to submit to our experience. So truth is not, so he is not defined by experience. He defines our experiences. So therefore, it's important that so when you join, therefore, one of the things that was not done to me, which I would urge that we consider again when we do induction of new people in leadership, was not done to me. I would say, beyond the ability to preach, to teach the Bible, and to share truth, we need to know that you are a safe person emotionally. You are safe emotionally. You're safe. Not perfect, but you're safe. You have gotten some safety tools around you, emotionally. I'm telling you, because I was not safe emotionally, and I got to be safe. Being safe emotionally meaning that you can be happy alone. Loneliness doesn't haunt you. You don't have voices. You don't have echoes. You don't need sound. Let's play. Put the volume now, because now you must put the volume louder because you need noise to occupy space. Because you've got issues that are traumatizing you. You must be secured in silence. Silence mustn't bother you when you are healthy. There's a time of silence. Be still and know that I am God. Right? But you can't be like that if emotionally you are in turmoil. You need friends, you need people, you need noise, you need to talk, you need to go out because you need to fill up this void. And if you are not safe emotionally, people are not safe around you. Listen, I know a lot of good preachers who are bad individuals, who have interpersonal bad skills. They are good orators, but bad individuals. Bad people, good preachers. You don't want to hang around them. I get to meet, because of my life, I get to meet very senior leaders around the country, very influential people. So I get to interact with very, very people you look up to, you see on TV. I get to meet them in real life. I'm like, oh, wow. Either he's more than what we think he is, or he's not what we think he is. I'm like, wow. Oh, okay. I mean, I can tell you Angus is a really nice person. I'm not saying it just for the sake of the meeting, but because I've met him so many times, he's really, really the person who appears to be what he is. Simple farmer who just wants to see God's name glorified and nothing else, no airs about him. The simple guy. So, I get to see people behind closed doors where people don't see them. And I get to see how they relate to me, how they treat me. I get to see how people respond to, in groups, I get to see how the senior leader responds to, I say, okay, this leader doesn't respond to my messages. Because, wow, okay, so I mustn't bother sending WhatsApps there. He's too busy. I'm not that important. Because for me, if I spend a week with a message that is on your phone, then I know my level of priority very low. Then I don't waste my time assuming I'm something that I'm not. Oh, you can see the message. He just blue-ticked me. There's more important messages to attend to. So next time, at least now I know. I was presuming that we are friends. Now I know reality hit me. I must go through the PA. I must go through the layer of protocol. I don't have PA. Unfortunately, everybody goes directly to me. So this one has a PA. So, not Emmanuel, I'm just saying the leader. So I'm just saying the point of the matter is that now it doesn't break me, but it does rattle me a little bit and puts me in my place quickly. Not a nice place, but oh. But then it teaches me. You know what it taught me? When I got to be ignored by some people over a long period of time, you know what it taught me? Instead of making me angry against them, it made me consider certain things. I said to myself now, don't be like that. You see where you are right now? When people talk to you, you know how you see how you feel? Make sure people around you don't feel the way you feel. So at least 2 days is the max I give myself to respond. People who expect immediate response are abnormal, and I ignore them because they think life revolves around them. I deliberately, those ones, they deserve to be ignored because they're not thinking straight. So we're not all that available. But at least 2 to 3 days is fine. But I say to myself, don't make other people feel the way you felt when these other people treat you. Don't be too important for the list of these ones. Don't let that young person in that corner there who's waiting to talk to you be ignored because some oversized, egoistic person who thinks it's too important holding your space. Because sometimes I've got all people, and then I see a young person there and I feel God is saying to you, are you going to? And this one thinks he deserves to take all the time with me. And I'm thinking, okay, are we done now, sir? Because my eye is upon that one who will not intrude as strongly as you do because it's not sure. But the Lord is challenging me
will you pay attention for the list of these ones? It's also wanting to talk to you. Right? But it's not as confident as this one because of his culture or status. So, because what brokenness does, as bad as it is, it gives you more empathy. Whatever you've gone through helps you to help other people better. It's painful, but it actually helps you. So guess what? For me to have pride, it's going to be some work. I'm not saying it's impossible. But I must, as long as I remember where I come from, it will help me to remain in the right place. I must just keep remembering. It's when I forget. It's when, as the prophet said to Saul, when you were small in your own eyes, the Lord made you. In other words, you used to be small in your own eyes and you've just become big. That's what he said to Saul. So if you remain small in your own eyes, God can still use you. Don't grow in your own perception of yourself. Remain small in your own eyes. Let another one praise, not your own mouth. That's what the Bible says. So therefore, I feel that every time I go to these meetings and these experiences, the Lord goes with me there and almost like helps me to say, orphans, remember, it's you. Uneducated, didn't pass, can't speak English, that was you so many years ago. Don't have money for bus fare or for conference fees, that was you. That was, so everybody there is there. You can relate with them because you've gone through it all. Going to bed without food or slice of bread with water, that was you. I'm like, okay, so all this experience, they matter for how I lead God's people. They're not unimportant. So God is saying, oh, okay, remember it. So I will lead it. So don't undermine. It's painful, yes, but don't underestimate the power of your story. Now, if you brought that story to leadership, and not make it dominant factor, but don't ignore it. So if the leadership wants you to come and act and serve in the church, minus your life experience, then they don't really want the real you. Did you get that? If leadership in a church wants you to come and serve, but they don't want anything to do with your background or your past story, then they don't really want the real you. They want to fake you. They don't deserve you. Because you can't exist outside of your personal story. It shouldn't govern you, but it actually you've gone through it for a reason. So they must appreciate the fact that this thing has made an impact and a dent in who I am. And I believe God wants to use it for the benefit of this congregation. So if you say, let me cut it off, somebody who needs this won't benefit from it because now you're saying to me, leave it outside. Whereas I can relate better with the orphan, with the widow, more than you do because you just read the Bible or theorize. I have more understanding of what that person is going through because I was once through that situation. And so I was blind and now I can see. So as we go to break, I wanted just to say, to lay the foundation of empathy and sympathy and concern and antipathy, and which is apathy and others, not to be following that, but I wanted us to understand that here are sitting stories, experiences that have to have context in ministry and the service of God. And when I asked God the question of where was God? When my mother died, where was God? Where was God? When my child died, my son is a twin, but his brother died at birth. There are questions that I never have answers for. I live with unanswered questions. I serve a God who doesn't answer everything, at least in the way that I expect him. But I love him anyway. I don't understand him, but I love him. This story I must tell you. I had twins. I asked him, you could have given me one child, would have been fine. Why this taste and a server of twins up until delivery? Why mess up the whole experience? You could have just given me one child, good enough. We go to hospital with twin strollers, twin beds, twin nappies, twin clothing, twin everything. And then one of them is born dead. Everything is alive, till a point. We go to private hospital, all the sauna, everything. I paid
I didn't go to hospital, public hospital. I paid thousands because I wanted my wife to have the best, and she lost the child in a private hospital after paying 15,000 for the bed, where I thought private failed us. When I thought of suing that nurse, I thought, she's a believer, the delivery doctor. And I could sue her easily for 10 million. But I thought, okay, so people will know you, that the money you have is because you sued another believer who may be a genuine mistake. Do you really want to be known like that in this city? You have become wealthy because of suing this gynecologist. Was very nice, very kind, who made bad mistake. And we lost our child. Do you really want to make money that way? So I left the hospital. Everybody sending messages, sometimes all over the world. Condolences, congratulations. People don't know what to say to me because it's confusing. One child is alive. So you know, we're celebrating this one is dead. It's a mixed feeling. Right? And the question to ask God is, my wife could have been pregnant with one child. It's a celebration. There's nothing small with one child. Why this twin thing? All along. And then boom, like Jesus, like really? Are you for real here? People sending me scriptures. Nobody could preach to me. I know all the verses. You can't be telling me Jeremiah this. I know it. Don't start me. Don't go for Romans 8:28. All things go together. I know. I don't want to hear it. I don't understand your God. The God you're telling. I don't get him. Somebody tell me how to get to him, because I'm lost right now. Find me a way to God. This God of yours is confusing to me. I couldn't relate with him. I've never sobbed like I did. I've never cried like I did. My wife was handling it much better than I did. I mean, it was shocking. Much better. I was broken. Right? And it's not like it's over. I still think about it. I'm like, my son is 14. I'm like, wow. You always think like, what if? You don't bother his sister that much if he had a brother. I mean, he wouldn't be so, Daddy, Mulumko is studying. I mean, there will be less of this mediating between him and his sister if there was a brother to work with and stop messing up with his sister. You know what I mean? Coming there with two grown boys, 14 that age, and it's like these both of you, they looked at us, how beautiful that is? That picture. He has to spend more money, but it's good money. So I had all these pictures in my mind. Two boys who I'm raising up who look the same, and and Jesus, not killed, just didn't allow. Not caused it, but allowed it. Because could have stopped it. But allowed it. You know what the word I got back in my heart when I asked the why? The word I got in my heart is, why not you? Who else must lose children in this country, which happens all the time, and why must you be the exception, which everybody's experiencing all the time? Why must you, the believer who has faith in me, be the exception? Why must you be exempt from what others are going through all the time? And how would I minister to them if I have not gone through what they have gone through? Jesus is strange sometimes. Please, if you can help me to understand him better, please, I'm open for email me or something. Help me to understand the God you're serving. He can be very strange. He can be quiet. Hey, this God, 400 years between Malachi and Matthew. He can sit quietly and watch. He said, I'm there. He has no problem keeping quiet for a long time. He's sitting there. He's got the whole thing in plan, but not the way you want it. Because we need to love him for who he is, not for what he does. Love him when we don't understand him. So I'm saying to you as leaders, I'm hoping my opening up to you can help you. That to understand that once you see me there, at least know where I'm coming from. We are not made there. We are only manifested there. We are made there in secret. When we are here, we are being displayed. When he's finished with us there, he then displays us there. So if we don't allow him to work with us here, he can't display us out there. Because we cannot be an aroma for others to smell if we're not ready for us to prune us, to crush the grapes and the olives to produce the anointing oil. The grapes must be, and the oil and the olives must be crushed for the oil to be produced. There's a crushing. And I know the crushing of the Lord for the good. But I've had to trust him. And despite it all, I've had to trust him that he's got this thing. I still don't get how he allows suffering. But I do think that at the end we will know. Don't judge God too quickly. You will be shocked. He will ask you like Job, were you there when I made the sky? Come, let's deal with you man to man. Then you realize you spoke out of 10. You spoke too soon. He is too kind. He is too good. But goodness is not the way we understand it. It's not the good we want to get what we want. It's his own definition of goodness. Hallelujah. So we'll take a break.